What's up, subscribers? Sunjutsu here, and today I wanted to go ahead and bring you this video talking about some of the recent announcements and changes that has happened to Total War Warhammer recently. And with me, I have Arch. How you doing, Arch?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me once again.
No problem. Now, I wanted to go ahead and ask you just a couple questions, and I'll give you kind of my thoughts on those questions in a little bit, and then we'll go through there. But first of all, I wanted to ask you, do you think that the Chaos Warriors DLC, the way that they're doing this format right now, where you pre-order, you get the DLC, you buy the DLC for that first week, you get it for free. I mean, you buy the game that first week, you get it for free. Do you think that's the proper way to do a DLC, especially for Total War?
I think it is a considerable improvement upon the whole pre-order thing, because this gives the opportunity to find reviews, etc. I'd still rather there be no pre-order bonus at all, but if they have to have one, this is definitely the way to go about it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because I was thinking a very similar thing. I think they've done it in the past with Rome 2 and Total War Attila, where they've had factions that are if for that first week and that first week only, you can get them for free if you download them. But then after that, you have to pay for them for a DLC. But I was thinking the same thing as you, that this is more of a preferable style of doing a pre-order DLC, but at the same time, I understand that some people might not want that to be even an issue. But now, do you think that the endless bitching that people have been doing all over the internet, all over YouTube, all over their forum and Facebook and all that stuff, do you think that endless bitching is what made this possible? And is this a turning point for the company when it comes to PR?
I don't think Creative Assembly or any large company, Sega included, etc., do things like this out of the goodness of their own hearts. I find that somewhat hard to believe, so I'm pretty sure the backlash had played some part in it. How large a part is essentially impossible to say, and as to whether or not this is a change, well, I think the particularly vehement backlash this time is certainly maybe been enough to teach them a bit of a lesson of this type of pre-order at the very least. But I think it's entirely dependent on how well Total War Warhammer does. If it does really well, then I suspect a lot of people over at Sega, etc., are going to be forgetting the backlash and trying it again the next time.
Oh, so you think that if this isn't something that'll change as time goes on, like if a Total War Warhammer does well, then later on they might actually change and go back to their ways with the second version of the game. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't be surprised, because as far as Sega CA are probably concerned, they've kind of gotten away with this one. And generally speaking, if they can get away with it once, they'll try to get away with it twice.
Like they got away scot-free. Well, I don't know about scot-free. I'm just glad, honestly, that because the Chaos Warriors seem like such a cool faction, with that stain of the pre-order on them, a lot of people not liking. I think it has a bunch of dislikes on the actual announcement videos. So I'm just glad that this kind of has taken some of the heat off of the faction and being able to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, like it's not as volatile toward it, the opinion toward it is. But now with all that being said, are you going to pre-order yourself, or are you going to wait for that first week, or are you gonna pay for it after that first week? What are your options now, or not options, but your decision to make for this faction?
I'm still not entirely sure, because part of me wants to reward Creative Assembly for taking at least a step in the right direction. And generally speaking, again, companies like this rarely do anything based on just, outcry and public opinion, unless it is truly massive. So just telling them, like, good job is probably not going to have much of an effect, but actually pre-ordering the game is going to be a fairly clear signal to them that, okay, this was a good thing. At the same time, I still do consider the Words of Chaos to be cut content, so I don't really want to reward them for that, so it's a bit of an odd one.
I feel like the only way that you can kind of balance both of those is by just paying for the game that week, because then they'll be like, they probably have a way to, well, actually they definitely have a way to check to see if, oh, these are pre-orders that have been happened before the game came out, and then these are the sales that happened that week that that game came out, and if the sales for that week are higher than the pre-orders, and they're like, okay, this is the way to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that's kind of like the way that they're kind of looking at it.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the same thing. It's a bit of an oddity, partially just because I would prefer it if there were no pre-order bonuses and there were no cost content, because no matter how you swing this with separate buttons, etc., they're ready on launch. As far as I'm concerned, if it's ready on launch, it should be in the game on launch.
Exactly. Okay, that's good. And now for the Chaos Warriors themselves, I wanted to go ahead and ask your opinion. What are your thoughts of the faction from what you've seen, like them on the battle map, which you haven't seen too much of, and then I mean, not the battle map, the campaign, which you haven't seen too much of, and then the battle map, which we've seen I think 2 battles at this point, or 2 or 3 battles at this point with them on the battle map. What do you think of them, and do you think that they're overpowered in any sort of way from what you've seen?
Well, as far as multiplayer goes, I suspect they might be, considering that in the latest video you saw, we had a fully upgraded Clike Here in the army, plus tons of elite units, being outnumbered by, I think, 3 or 4 dwarf units, which seems like a bit of a disparity. And they still essentially walked all over them, which looked a little extreme.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that it was kind of, especially with the dwarves, I guess sort of, but with the Empire, they seem to wash over them like waves over a shore very, very quickly. And so I was kind of worried that they were overpowered. I made a couple of videos. I think I had mentioned that I thought they were overpowered, and a lot of people were commenting like, no, they're not overpowered, this and that. They're actually quite balanced, and you're just new and all this stuff. So from what you've seen, are my worries kind of there, or is it just like, oh no, maybe these are like the really high tier units, they kind of made those battles to come out in the Chaos Warriors' favor?
It depends. We still don't know entirely how the balance is going to work. There's certainly ways to counter it. I mean, an army that's heavy on skirmish cavalry will run rings around them for all eternity while picking away at them. So there is that, but on the other hand, the fact that he could get a fully upgraded Clike Here, which literally took on like 3 units and barely lost half its hit points, seems a little bit strong, everything considered.
Okay. Yeah, the Clike Here actually looked pretty cool. I actually like the way that unit looked. I was surprised that they were going to have lightning and all that stuff wrapped around them. Now, going to a different faction that we've seen a couple times now, but is not going to be in the game, the Bretonnians. What do you think of them from what you've seen, and do you think that'll be the first free faction that we get?
Almost certainly, because the thing is, again, we go back to the whole thing that they said they had to budget a separate team to work on Chaos. So they couldn't possibly do more than 4 factions, otherwise they'd be operating at a loss. Now they've not done just 5 factions. It now looks like they've essentially done 6 factions. So if the next free faction is going to be a 7th faction, either they have a lot of budgets or they're really bad liars. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be Bretonnia.
Okay, so Bretonnia is, you're putting your money on that one. Now, what do you think will be the paid faction? The one that I think they had kind of like a route to all the DLCs that they're thinking of coming out with, and on that route was a paid new faction, and they said that would probably come towards the end of the year. What faction do you think is most likely going to be that faction?
Considering the limitations of the map, I'd probably go with Wood Elves, which, considering they've already kind of surrendered on the regional occupation by literally helping someone to end regional occupation, I'm thinking they'll have a lot easier time to put them into the game, because normally the Wood Elves would not be able to conquer anything because the Wood Elves don't leave Athaloran. And I'm assuming they're going to be more likely simply because the Border Princes, it's completely unknown factions. They'd had to go pretty hard creative to add that in. They could do the Norskins, potentially. We don't know how many Norskin units are in the game, or if they're just going to use Chaos units. Alternatively, they could maybe expand the map, but I'm not entirely sure they would want to do that for just a free faction expansion or paid faction expansion.
See, now that you're saying it, wood elves seem like more the likely one, which I'm actually for. I mean, I like elves in fantasy, and I've looked into some of the lore of the wood elves themselves. I made a video about it, but it seems easier to make the wood elves than it does to make a whole new type of faction. The one that I really wanted to see was Skaven. Do you think that there's any hope for that before the next I guess expansion?
Depends on how serious they take it, because I've been overestimating Creative Assembly on several points here. Like, I was entirely sure they would at least try to make Dwarven Carax, but they decided not to and just make them standard siege battles. And I was thinking, if they're going to do Skaven, they're going to have to invent a second map. They're going to have to represent the Under Empire somehow. But seeing as the Carax just are imperial cities now with slightly different textures, maybe. Maybe they will just add in the Skaven in as a surface faction, which would be disappointing, but it's not impossible.
Now, when it came on one of those trailers, I forget exactly which trailer it was. It showed, I think it was the Thorm Grudgebearer trailer. We saw a bunch of greenskins running up at a wall that was manned by a whole bunch of cannons, and the cannons unleashed on the greenskins, completely obliterating a whole bunch of them, and then came in the not the cavalry charges, but the melee charges. Now that wall, is that close to what you would say a Carrack would look like, or is it, you don't know what that is? Because that definitely wasn't what we saw when it came to the city, the Dwarven cities. It didn't look anything like that.
Yes, essentially that would be the curtain walls of a Carrack.
Oh, okay. So that's a separate thing. Yeah, because I thought it looked pretty cool when I was watching it. I was like, oh, that is pretty cool. It's gonna be kind of hard to get past. I mean, it's just a giant wall, and originally that's what I thought was a Carrack being a noob. But now that we saw the cities, well, it just looks like regular underground cities with some dwarf building. I don't know. I wasn't very big fan of that. But moving along. And I like that you talked about regional complication. You mentioned it anyway. What are your thoughts on the mod support coming to Warhammer? I mean, they've said no, then they said yes. They've said no, now they say yes again. What is this?
It's an interesting little thing, because they ended up blaming Games Workshop originally for there not being mod support, which most people accepted because Games Workshop are in the most cases cunts, and that's entirely likely. However, interestingly enough, Games Workshop has apparently given out some form of license to Valve, which has allowed them to put in Warhammer, official proper Warhammer copies of my items, etc., up on Steam Workshop for Dota 2, or at the very least made it so that people can make Warhammer stuff without getting copyrighted. That might indicate a loosening of Games Workshop's policies towards mods, which is about fucking time, considering their stance on mods so far has been schizophrenic at best.
Yeah.
I do hope that's it, because there's many games out there that would benefit a lot from Warhammer, both modifications and unofficial expansions, etc., so we can hope.
Alright, and so with the there's two mods supposedly coming on day one for the game itself. What do you think of these two mods? Though I kind of already assume your answer a little bit. But what do you think of these two mods? And will you ever play vanilla Total War Warhammer? Or will anybody ever play vanilla Total War Warhammer?
Well, there are people out there who like the idea of regional occupation because they subscribe to a different version of the lore than I do, in which case, go ahead and play it like that. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not even booting up the game before I have both lore-friendly starting locations and regional occupation mod on. And hopefully, some crazy bastard will mod the game pretty much within the first week, as I'm not a massive fan of Creative Assembly's current version of Total War, which I feel is perhaps a little small. I've gotten really used to Radius's mod, where you can easily have double stacks, and the basic battle size is now 40 units, which is awesome.
I think they did mention in that article that Radius is working on an overhaul, which is weird because I mean, they've said that Radius is working on an overhaul. I think it was Dresden. You guys, I might be wrong, but I think it was Dresden that was doing the regional occupation overhaul, and then Magnus was doing the lore-friendly starting positions. And these are all being worked on, so they can be at least the first two, the second two. The Radius, I'm not sure if that'll be ready day one, but these are all being worked on right now, before the game's even out. So why not? And this is completely off the cuff. Why not make those options in the game, in the base game to begin with, since it's beforehand? And why not make a better version of the game if you're just gonna have Radius make it better anyway?
Well, the obvious answer is lazy.
Oh, okay, good. All right. I'm glad that.
I mean,
you got that.
It's mean to say it because these are paid developers, but well, I mean, we've had Total War for so many years now, and the modders are the ones that make the game what it is. Like, the base game is usually awesome. Medieval 2 Total War is still a fantastic game, but it's still so much better with mods, you know?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that's what I normally put mods on almost all my games, all my Total War. There's not really one Total War game that I can just play right off the cuff. Attila was the one that I could start out with, but I had to take off raising. In my opinion, I don't like raising because the AI just raises half the map and it just looks all botchy. I don't like the way it looks. Don't really like that mechanic personally. Now, when it comes to mods, what mod do you want to see the most for Total Warhammer? I know it's early to say. We haven't gotten the game. We don't know what needs to be improved on. But from what you know, and people go all out of left field when it comes to making mods and things for different games. What mod would you personally like to see the most out of the modding community for this game?
Well, we already know regional occupation is out, and that was really my biggest bugbear. So I'm thinking just an combat mod, upping the time of combat, because so far pretty much every battle we've seen has been over in 10 minutes, which is too short for me.
Yeah.
I'd like some actual combat time, so increasing defenses, reducing melee damage across the board seems like a good start.
Okay. See, with me, I have a separate video that I'm working on right now that kind of addresses this, but one mod that I didn't put on that video that I'm gonna go ahead and say right now that I really want to see, and that I've seen on I have it on my Attila game, is the cinematic matched combat. I know other people like that, the way that it is, where it's just hacking and slashing, kind of a Medieval 2 style, and I like that for Medieval 2. But when it came to one of the biggest lures for me when it came to Empire, I believe I was watching one of Eric Carthage's videos and I saw two units going at it with rapiers. It's just kind of all these type of combat animations, and I'm just looking at it, I'm like, that looks awesome. And since then I've loved combat animations. I know they try to nerf it in Attila and I think toward the end of Rome too, making it so most of the animations are hack and slash. But for me, this is one that I didn't put on that other video that I'm making here in the future, but is I would like to have more matched combat animations because of I think they've mentioned that most of the animations will be hack and slash, and that's not my cup of tea. Going toward your outlook, what is your outlook now on Warhammer? Because it seems, I mean, I'm just saying it the way I saw it. I mean, it seems like you've been fairly negative, slightly optimistic towards this title since the beginning, and I mean, with good reason to, for the most part, actually, I would say for a majority of the part. And I know you're very big into lore and being very lore centric toward this title, but what is your outlook now that they've made some of these changes?
Well, the thing with specifically combat animations is very much so a taste thing. Like, as far as I'm concerned, undeniably the game does play better with less of them, because
that's true.
It does screw up some of the basic game mechanics if you have long invincibility animations. However, I really like the look of it, and I would hate to see them go entirely. Like, for me, I think there's a happy middle road for that, which we just simply can't do right now because the engine has some severe limitations when it comes to this. Which it's always going to have until they make a new engine, which probably could be the next historical one.
Hopefully.
But I like the current formula. Like, Rome 2 at launch was an absolute pile of dog shit, but currently, fully modded and ready to go, it's probably one of my favorite Total War games.
Rome 2?
Yeah. I like it fully modded, etc. With lots of unit packs, lots of mods, lots of animations, etc.
This is interesting. Which mod? Which
Radius is one of them.
Oh, Radius. Okay.
Yeah, Radius the primary one.
Yeah, Radius is actually a really good mod. I feel like he's been in the game for a very long time. My favorite one was Darth up until I believe he got, I guess he got his toes stepped on by Creative Assembly at some point, and he decided to quit modding. But Radius, I feel, was contending with Darth, and then now he's had many more titles to improve on his craft, and I'm with you. And with him working on creating a better Total War Warhammer to the Warhammer that we haven't really gotten yet, so we don't know what's going to be wrong with it. I'm excited to see what new takes he has on it. So your outlook, you would say is better, more optimistic for this?
I'm optimistic. I mean, I've always been cautiously optimistic because in Total War Warhammer, I wanted to be good. I really wanted to be good. But I am running a channel where I assume the primary point of it is to give a balanced outlook and give my critical opinion on stuff instead of just hype, because there's plenty of people that do hype, so I mean, I don't really see the need for another one, but I've never thought the game looked bad, so to say. It's never looked like Rome 2 level catastrophe, which granted Rome 2 didn't look like that either. So.
If you put the Siege of Carthage video side by side with the Battle of Blackfire Pass video, I mean, it's night and day to how different and how much better and even polished the Battle of Blackfire Pass looks compared to, in my opinion anyway, to the Siege of Carthage video. But even back then, I saw the Siege of Carthage video and I was getting sold. I was getting played at that point. I was, oh my god, this looks amazing. It's crazy. But I'm glad that it's starting to look a little bit better. The future is hopefully a little bit brighter than the past. I almost want to say that Rome 2's the folly of Rome 2, the demise of the failure of Rome 2, at least Rome 2 initial vanilla version, hopefully makes Total War Warhammer into one of the best Total War games I've ever seen. But that's me being extremely optimistic. Now I want to close out this video by asking you a question. I'm gonna ask you a question out of left field, but then I'll bring it around back to Total War. And I know that you like history. I know you're big into history. Have you seen the new Battlefield 1 trailer?
I have. It's the first time in a very long time I've been vaguely excited for a Total War game. Or Total War Battlefield, sorry.
Battlefield game, yeah, I got you. Okay, good, alright. Oh my god, it looks so amazing. I don't know, I heard about them making it, and then I was like, okay, so they're gonna make a World War I, and I like World War I. I'm pretty big into the history to it, and then so I was like, maybe how you gonna do trench warfare, and will it be this and that, and then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh wow, this looks pretty I'm excited as well, so that's good. Now with that said, and I'm glad that you're excited as well as I, just like me, do you think that Total War could ever do World War
I? It's gonna require a completely new engine. Which, the thing is, the current engine was based around line warfare of the Napoleonic Wars, and it has proved to have not adapted very well to more classical styles of warfare. If they were to do World War I, I'm almost entirely sure they're going to have to plan on doing several modern Total War games, because it's going to require an entirely new engine, and the failure of them adapting it to a more classical style probably means that they will not risk that again. I don't think Creative Assembly survives another Rome 2 without several good games under their belt, so I'd consider it unlikely.
Okay.
Just because it would require an entirely new engine, but a slightly earlier, like a Victorian era, maybe, because it would require less of a rework. But when we're talking machine guns and airplanes and tanks, yeah.
Apparently cavalry charges too. Apparently, I mean, I know there was a war. The World War I also kind of went to the Middle East theater, but I guess I didn't have much knowledge of them. There being still toward the end of the war, cavalry charges. I know early on they did, and they did not end well. Not to machine gun fire.
Yeah, like the idea of cavalry in that type of year wasn't really the charged cavalry of ancient times anyways. It was more along the lines of mounted infantry, although some extremely optimistic countries still maintained lancer formations, which they did occasionally do halfway decent, just with ridiculously high casualty rates.
Hopefully this game comes out. I'm talking about Battlefield 1. Hopefully it comes out and it does it well, because being on horseback, running around, they haven't stated whether that's going to be playable, but seeing as how it's in the trailer, I couldn't see how you could put that in the trailer and not have it in the game. I don't see that, but companies have done it before. And also, I'm extremely excited for Total War Warhammer. I guess I'm one of those that just needs to have it. Can't wait to have it in a couple weeks. Thank you so much again, Arch, for giving me your valuable time and having this conversation with me. Thank you so much.
No, it's fun. Anytime.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching us. You can go ahead and go into the description below. I have a link to Arch's channel right there. You can find a whole bunch of Warhammer videos, other videos as well, but Warhammer lore if you really need to learn. That's a good portion of me learning about Warhammer lore is from this man right here. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for watching us. The question of the day: what mod do you want to see the most in Total War Warhammer? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know. Let's even get over 50 likes for the game coming out in a couple weeks. Mods, Bretonnia, free up factions, everything. And Arch, of course. Let's even get over 50 likes for him. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching. This has been Arch. Well, actually, you do your ending. I like your ending. Can you do your ending?
I've been Arch. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope to see you soon.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This is going to be Sunjetsu signing off. Take care. Facebook and all that stuff. Do you think that endless bitching is what made this possible? And is this a turning point for the company when it comes to PR? I don't think Creative Assembly or any large company, Sega included, etc., do things like this out of the goodness of their own hearts. I find that somewhat hard to believe, so I'm pretty sure the backlash had played some part in it. How large a part is essentially impossible to say, and as to whether or not this is a change, well, I think the particularly vehement backlash this time is certainly maybe been enough to teach them a bit of a lesson of this type of pre-order at the very least, the way to go about it. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because I was saying a very similar thing. I think they've done it in the past with Rome 2 and Total War Attila, where they've had factions that are if for that first week and that first week only, you can get them for free if you download them. But then after that, you have to pay for them for a DLC. But I was saying the same thing as you, that this is more of a preferable style of doing a pre-order DLC, but at the same time, I understand that some people might not want that to be even an issue. But now, do you think that the endless bitching that people have been doing all over the internet, all over YouTube, all over their forum, and do you think that the Chaos Warriors DLC, the way that they're doing this format right now, where you pre-order, you get the DLC, you buy the DLC for that first week, you get it for free. I mean, you buy the game that first week, you get it for free. Do you think that's the proper way to do a DLC, especially for Total War?
I think it is a considerable improvement upon the whole pre-order thing, because this gives the opportunity to find reviews, etc. I'd still rather there be no pre-order bonus at all, but if they have to have one, this is definitely...
What's up, subscribers? Sunjetsu here, and today I wanted to go ahead and bring you this video talking about some of the recent announcements and changes that has happened to Total War Warhammer recently. And with me I have Arch. How you doing, Arch?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me once again.
No problem. Now, I wanted to go ahead and ask you just a couple questions, and I'll give you kind of my thoughts on those questions in a little bit, and then we'll go through there. But first of all, I wanted to ask you...
Released, but I think it's entirely dependent on how well Total War Warhammer does. If it does really well, then I suspect a lot of people over at Sega, etc., are going to be forgetting the backlash and trying it again the next time.
Oh, so you think that that if this isn't something that'll change as time goes on. Like if only if a Total War Warhammer does well, then later on they might actually change and go back to their ways with the second version of the game. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't be surprised, because as far as CA are probably concerned, they've kind of gotten away with